what will it look like to the president, frankly, if this Congress can't get the votes?
Well,
Nako,
we cannot tell yet,
ang
Karen.
hirap, no? Ang hirap sagot. Yan ang problema dito kay Jinky. Naku, sa tingin ho natin, hindi ho makakatulog itong si Jinky Luistro ngayong gabi pagka nabasa niya itong balita na to. Kasi base dito sa pinaka-latest na survey na ilinabas ng Pulse Asia, nananatili hong nangunguna itong si VP Sara sa mga napupusuhan na maging presidente ng ating mga kababayan sa 2028 presidential election. Sa kabila ho yan ng ilang buwan na walang humpay na paggigiba ng mga alipores nitong si Marcos Jr. dyan sa House of Representatives dito kay VP Sara. Meron ng Madriaga, meron ng AMLA, meron ng Confidential Fund, meron ng COA. Napakarami na hong ibinato sa kanya. Pero nananatili pa rin ho si VP Sara bilang nangungunang kandidato ng pagka-presidente sa 2028 presidential election. Pero bago yan, isang like at isang subscribe. Masaya na ho tayo dyan at sa mga gusto sumali sa ating community, yung join button, nandyan lang ho sa baba. Ngayong mga panahon na to, naiintindihan na ho natin kung bakit yung ibang mga congressman binawi yung kanilang co-authorship ng impeachment laban dito kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Siguro nauna dyan, nakita na ho nila itong pinaka-latest na survey na to. Kasi mga kababayan, kung sakaling ang sambayan ng Pilipino naniniwala na talagang dapat ma-impeach si VP Sara, sa tingin ho natin hindi 43% ang mga numero na yan itong si VP Sara. Base ho kasi dito sa pinaka-latest na survey na ilinabas ng Pulse Asia Research, Vice President Sara Duterte is still leading the survey for presidential election 2028 conducted by Pulse Asia. The survey commissioned by Senate Majority, di ko natin alam yan kung ano yung kasunod na mga wordings ng post na yan, ng Brigada News FM Davao. Yan ang problema ho dito mga kababayan. Yan ang kailangang isolve noong mga gumugusto talaga na ma-impeach itong si VP Sara. Kasi napakalaking dagok ho nito. No? Mantagin nyo ho walang humpay yung pagbira na ginawa dito kay VP Sara nitong si Jinky Luistro, ni Benny Abante, ng AMLA, ng COA, Madriaga, di ba? Nito nga NBI, Ombudsman, ang tawag dito, yung kanyang SALN, kung ano-anong mga kalokohan ang ibinato sa kanya. Ngayon, lumabas na ho ito. Ito lang naman ho ang pakay nila di ba? Kaya nila sinisiraan itong si VP Sara. Sa gayong paraan, pagka meron na lumabas na survey, makikita nila kung gumagana, kinakagat ng sambayan ng Pilipino yung mga kalukuhang pinag-uusapan nila dyan sa Injustice Committee. Pero base dito sa pinaka-latest na survey na to, atin hong makikita at yan masasaksihan ng sambayan ng Pilipino na walang epekto. Yan sinabi naman natin dito sa PH Update, kung ang umaasa sila na yung ginagawa nilang paninira na yan kay VP Sara, makakaapekto sa kanyang mga numero sa mga susunod na maglalabas ang survey. Yan kasi magiging basihan. Diba? Pagkatapos ng butuhan dyan sa Injustice Committee, diba? Hindi man lamang ho nag-isang linggo. Kahapon lang ho ata sila natapos nagbutuhan, diba? Na merong probable cause yung impeachment dito kay VP Sara. O maya-maya merong lumalabas na survey. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Yaan ho ang gagamiting panukatan ng ibang mga congressman kung paano nila titimbangin yung impeachment na yan pagka pinagbotohan na sa plenaryo. Kaya ngayong mga panahon na to, itong si Baculaw, sigurado kabado ho siya. Interview ho niya dito kay Ma'am Karen Davila ang ating sasalansanin dito sa video na to. Pero bago yan, isang like at isang subscribe. Okay na ho tayo dyan. Sa mga gusto sumali sa ating community, yung join button, nandyan lang ho sa baba. Palakpakan ho muna tayo para dito kay VP Sara. Wala hong makakapigil. Pagka magiging presidente ka, magiging presidente ka. Hindi yan mapipigilan ni Baculaw. Hindi ho yan mapipigilan ni Marcos Jr. Yung pagiging presidente ni Marcos Jr. nakatala din ho yan mga kababayan. Para mamulat na ang sambayan ng Pilipino na talagang ang mga Marcos magnanakaw. Tapos ang usapan. Narekta ho tayo sa interview nitong si Baculaw dito kay Ma'am Karen Davila.
Having me here again.
Good morning once more. I want you to react coming from just what the Vice President said, no?
Nako, yan
yung
na.
sinasabi ng ilan, tapos na daw ang
Ayun
laban. Huwag sabihin na tapos na ang laban. Ang tanong ko sa inyo, tapos na ba ang laban?
Well, ever since I do not want to preempt itong mga paparating pa, no? So in a way, I wish to agree with the Vice President na hindi pa naman talaga tapos. As a matter of fact, meron pang plenary vote. And after the plenary vote, if the House of Representatives will affirm the findings of the Justice Committee, we know for a fact na itra-transmit pa ito for trial before the Senate. At doon sa Senado, magkakaroon ng pagdinig, their decision will be either convicted or acquitted.
I think what the Vice President was reacting to, yung tapos na, is that the House will be able to come up with at least 106 votes. So we have Representative Terry Redon now saying that he believes that they'll be able to come up with 215 votes. At least, he says it can be achieved the same as last year's. But at one point, Representative Chua said that he was admitting it was hard that they lacked votes. So ang tanong ko, ma'am, ano ba talaga ang sitwasyon?
So ganito, no? If Terry is saying that 215 is possible, Joel Chua is saying that it's hard to earn the number.
Nako.
Siguro from my end, I would rather wait until the plenary vote. It's really hard to...
Tapos meron pa lalabas na ganyang klaseng balita. Tapos mag-uusap. Siyempre, kayo naman. Kung ako congressman at kahit na medyo critical ako kay Sara Duterte, di ba? Halimbawa ako isa akong congressman. Critical ako kay Sara Duterte. Galit na galit ako kay Sara Duterte. Galit ako sa hindi malamang kadahilanan dahil kung sakali yung mga tawag dito, yung mga nagbigay sa akin ng FLR, proyekto sa aking distrito, talagang kakantiin nitong si Sara Duterte kung sakaling siya maging presidente. Kung yun man ang pinanggagalingan ng galit ko, mag-iisip-isip ako. Dahil ibang usapan na ika nga pagka yung mga survey na ganito naglalabas. Kasi boses yan ng mga ng taong bayan. Diba? Yan ang rinirepresenta nung ika nga kailangan mong ikonsidera na makipag-usap sa yung mga nasasakupan kung ano ba ang kilatis nila dito sa impeachment na to. Hindi na pwede yung ikukulong kayo sa isang kwarto at hahayaan na lang na pirma kayo dyan pagka hindi kayo pumirma, may kalalagyan kayo kay tamba. Di ba? Hindi na ganun ang labanan ngayon. Kasi iba na ho ito mga kababayan. Wala na hong perang involved dito. Wala nang pondo Diba? Wala nang pondo. So ang mangyayari dito, kung di rin lang naman sila kikita, hindi naman pwedeng pagpalit ng administrasyon, di na nga sila kumita mapapahamak pa sila. Diba? Ganun lang naman ho yun.
To speak about the possible number of votes, Karen, because ang daming factors na pwedeng i-consider ng mga Kongs. First and foremost, I don't know if they appreciate the evidence the same way that the justice members did. Second, we have to consider also the party leadership's position, no? Meron diyang lakas, merong NPC, NP, may PFP, may liberal. We don't know what's the position of the party leadership. As a matter of fact, ang naririnig ko nga most of the time, conscience vote which means na hindi
Anak na to ako, conscience vote. Walang ganon. Hindi pwede. Anong conscience vote?
alam yung party leadership, no? And of course, hindi natin maiaalis pa rin yung political interest ng members of House of Representatives considering now is 2026, 2028 will be the next national election.
Has it changed? The National Unity Party, that's a major bloc in the House, they've already said at one point that they will not support the impeachment of the Vice President. When you look at other party leaderships, has their stand changed from the first impeachment?
Well, I saw a lot of NUP members,
Okay.
no, in the voting of the Justice Committee. So yung statement ni DS Puno before that they will not support the impeachment process, I think medyo na downgrade in a way that they are living it to the conscience, the judgment, the prerogative of the individual member of the party as to whether or not they will support the impeachment process, no? I understand in the past nagsalita si DS Puno ng ganyan. Pero in the recent voting before the Justice Committee, I saw a huge number of NUP members. So I think it's the conscience vote still, which is being maintained by NUP. But of course, this is just my observation.
Yeah.
We cannot speak for NUP.
Oo. Because tama kayo, at one point, the announcement of NUP before, they said there was no new evidence, right? They said it was weak. But it seems that in the last hearing, new evidence has come to light.
That's correct, Karen. And I think that's one of the important things that was considered by, I believe, a huge number of House members, which actually changed their position, no? Without them admitting it expressly, I personally observed na malaki ang naging impact ng second hearing. The hearing which provided the avenue for the disclosure of the AMLAC report, the 6.77 billion covered in suspicious transactions, as well as the SALN. For me, Karen, I observed malaki ang naging impact nito in as far as the position of the House members is concerned.
Because in the first impeachment complaint, the issue with the bank accounts and the SALN was not thoroughly, kumbaga, it was not thoroughly discussed. Walang full insight noon doon.
You are correct, Karen, because you will remember the impeachment back in the 19th Congress was filed under the second mode.
Yes.
That is by signature of at least 1/3, where the referral to the Justice Committee is not a requirement. So there was no opportunity actually for the House of Representatives to discuss, see the evidence in as far as the allegations of unexplained wealth is concerned, no? Unlike in the cases of confidential fund, bribery, ito nakita natin dito sa inquiry in aid of legislation on good government and public accountability. So you are correct when you said that this is the first time na nakita ng House members and even the viewing public the pieces of evidence which are supportive of the allegations of the unexplained wealth. That is the very big difference between the first impeachment in 19 Congress and the second impeachment under the 20th Congress.
Oo. So now there's a unanimous 55 coming from the House Justice Committee panel.
Yan.
All you need are 51 votes.
Ang problema ho dito mga kababayan, kaninang noong lumabas yung interview na yan, noong nagbulahan itong si Jinky Luistro at itong si Karen Davila, wala pa ho wala pang lumalabas sa survey. Ngayon, sa tingin ko kung nakita muna nila tong survey na to, hindi ho ganyan ang tono, ganyan ang tempo na ang kanilang bulahan, diba? Hindi ho ganyan yan. Yan ang sigurado natin.
Technically, to reach the threshold of 106 for the House to impeach her, is there an active lobby? We have to remember an impeachment process is both evidentiary and it's also political in nature globally. So it wouldn't be surprising if, let's say, administration representatives would be lobbying for a vote to impeach. But the 51 right now, so is there an active movement, so to speak, to gain the 51?
Well, I don't observe any kasi Karen, yung encounter ko is limited to the active members of the Justice Committee, and we know already the position of the Justice members, no? And sabi ko nga, before the voting on probable cause, we are investigators, we are impartial, we are independent. But after the voting of probable cause, officially, may position na ang Justice Committee, no? So with regards to the 51 other members of the House who should complete the required threshold, the threshold of 106 House members, I don't know really what efforts, if ever, are being exerted by parties concerned in this impeachment process.
What about the House Speaker? Where does he stand on this? Because he will vote, right? He has to vote.
Yes, he has to vote because he is one of the 300 What's this? 318
But can he
members of
choose
the
to
House of
abstain?
Representatives.
I mean, can the House Speaker choose to abstain, or are there rules?
Anyone, actually, anyone can choose to abstain, di ba? Pag nagpapaboto tayo, those who are in favor, those who are not in favor, those who abstain. So it is always a prerogative, an
Yo.
option to abstain from the voting, no? Kami ni Speaker kasi, pag magkausap kami ni Speaker, it is limited only to the process. We never discuss really about the position. He will be asking what will be the next step, ganyan lang, no? And how are the members? Ganyan lang. What should be the possible date? Pero we never discuss about his position about this impeachment. So I also look forward to see what will be the position of Speaker Bojidi when we vote in the plenary.
Yan.
Because I want to ask you, there's a super majority in the lower house. In fact,
That's correct.
Yeah, the president's own son, right, is one of the senior leaders of the lower house right now.
He is our majority leader.
Exactly. What will it look like to the president, frankly, if this Congress can't get the votes?
Well,
Nako.
we cannot tell yet,
Ang hirap,
Karen.
no? Ang hirap sagot. Yan ang problema dito kay Jinky. Paano na? Eh di magiging presidente si VP Sara. Ganun kadali. Pambihira, oh.
Whether we will get the 1/3 or we will get the 1/3, no?
Yeah.
Whether or not we will get the 1/3, that is yet to be seen when we vote in the plenary. But what I wish to point out is, even if the presidential son is the majority leader of the 20th Congress, the individual members have actually the privilege, the prerogative to make their own stand, notwithstanding the position of the majority bloc, notwithstanding the position of the party leadership. No? As a matter of fact, makakakita ka dyan, Karen, eh. Kunyari, isang partido, they are 40. You will be seeing 30 of them supporting the impeachment, and you will be seeing 10 of them not supporting the impeachment. So bagaman it is correct that it is a political process, the position of the party leadership is significant. At the end of the day, it is the judgment of the individual member. So I don't think that the fact that the presidential son is the majority leader is really a matter that should bother the Filipino people. No? Because at the end of the day, conscience vote to judgment ng individual members. So it is really how you appreciate this impeachment process. That should be the basis on voting during the plenary.
That's quite ideal. But then you already have representatives who've voiced out that they're cautious to vote for the impeachment because of 2028. And that's not necessarily conscience. Conscience means you are fearless. But the way it sounds now is conscience won't be the big issue. It will be political at some point.
Tama ka dun, Karen. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of factors, kagaya ng binanggit ko na kanina, no?
Oo.
One is how they appreciate the evidence, because we don't know if they appreciate the same way that justice members did. Second, the party leadership's position. And third, the fact that 2028 will be the next election. But apart from these three, no? Kapag boboto ka na, I think ang mako-consider mo talaga is what your conscience dictates. Given the circumstances, what do you think is best for the country, best for the Filipino people? So,
Anong best for the Filipino people? Anong best for the country? Ang best dyan maging presidente si VP Sara. Yan ang best dyan. Ngayon, ang malaking dago, pag nagkataon, pagka na-impeach si VP Sara, kasi magtutuloy-tuloy yung mga kabalbalan na dito sa administrasyon na to. Kasi kung sa bagay, no, halimbawa, ma-impeach si VP Sara, hindi lang naman pala siyang last option natin, di ba? Kahit ma-impeach si VP Sara, meron pa rin naman tayong pangbato sa 2028. Hindi ibig sabihin na talo na-impeach si VP Sara tapos nalaban. Hindi ho, mga kababayan. Meron pa tayong Robin Padilla, meron pa ho tayong Mayor Baste Duterte, meron tayong Congressman Pulo. Marami ho tayong meron Dante Marcoleta pa, meron pang sino pa ba? Hindi ko na ho alam yung iba, pero kung alam niyo, comment niyo sa baba kung sino yung sa tingin yung napupusuhan niyo na pwedeng isa lang kung sakaling worst case scenario. Pero tayo naniniwala makakakwit si VP Sara. Magiging kasangkapan pa yung impeachment na yan para ika nga sa early campaigning nitong si VP Sara. Yan ang ating nababasa. Kasi kung malapit na eleksyon, tapos maya wala silang iba na babasa kundi VP Sara. Tapos lahat ng argumento nasasagot dyan sa hearing na yan. Anak ng Petrang Garapata. Panalo na ho talaga si VP Sara. Tapos ang usapan, kulong yung mga magnanakaw na congressman.
So, these three, bagaman they are significant, no? At the end of the day, ang mananaig pa rin dyan is the judgment of the individual members.
Hindi, tama, judgment ng individual members. Kung merong merong pondo ang impeachment laban dito kay VP Sara. Pero base sa ating nakikita sa tingin natin walang pondo, kaya isinasaalang-alang na lang nila doon sa conscience voting. Hindi na doon sa bayad voting, ha? Umaapila na ho sila sa konsensya ng kanilang mga kasamahan dyan sa House of Representatives.
Yeah, and the question is is the judgment of the individual members, will they decide out of fear or will they decide out of sheer conscience?
I think when we say it's a conscience vote, it depends on what is important to the individual members. If what matters to them is the best interest of the nation, siguro dapat mawala yung fear ng consequence ng kanilang vote.
Okay.
If what matters to them is only the interest of the Filipino people, siguro ang titingnan nila yung merit ng impeachment complaint, no?
Oo.
And perhaps what they will need to see is the future of this nation, no? When they vote.
What about Representative Paulo Duterte's claim that there's pressure to vote in favor of the impeachment? And he also claims that after this, SAL ends will now be weaponized against politicians.
Well, I did not, or I do not experience any of the pressures that Kong Polong Duterte mentions in his statement, no? But at least, Karen, I can speak only for myself. Walang kumausap, walang nakiusap, walang pumilit, no? So, lahat ng ginagawa ko as chairperson of the Justice Committee springs from what I appreciate as a duty from the Constitution, which I really cannot decline, I cannot disregard. But in as far as what he is saying, that there's a lot of pressure, in as far as I am concerned, I vehemently deny that.
Okay, so May 11, can you take us, it is now May 5, there are 3 more, how do I say it, is it working calendar days? The calendar days have now been so confusing. Wednesday to Friday, how would you define that now in the House? Anong tawag doon? Kasi weekend naman, Saturday, Sunday. Anong tawag po ninyo
Ang sabi lang naman ay from referral, the plenary should be able to vote within the period of 10 session days, no?
Okay.
10 session days. But we have to consider the Supreme Court decision in Duterte versus House of Representatives. Ang sabi nila dyan, before the plenary vote, the House members should be provided with a copy of the committee report, the resolution, and the articles of impeachment, most especially the articles of impeachment and the attached evidence. They should be given reasonable time to read and study the same before the plenary vote. That's part of due process, no? Na napag-aralan. So if we were able to transmit it yesterday, ang sabi ng Supreme Court, reasonable period. Wala namang sinabi na definite number of days. No? So from yesterday, it will be routed to the bills and index. The bills and index will be the bills and index will include it in the order of business in the plenary, and then the plenary will refer it to the rules. And then today, that should be included among the agenda of the rules committee.
Okay.
No? And they should be able to refer it back to the plenary so that the plenary can transmit copy of all these documents to the House members, including the respondent vice president and the complainant. So if that will happen today, then we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think 5 days is reasonable period
Oo,
for
to
the House
decide.
members to be able to read and study.
Oo.
No? So for me lang because this will be a decision of the plenary, but from my perspective as the Justice Chair, given the 5-day period na ibibigay natin to the House members to study, I think by May 11, the plenary should be ready to vote.
Yeah. And the longer it takes, there's more danger of actually the fear of lobbying. I mean, both sides are claiming fears of lobbying. And that's exactly it. The faster that you're able to vote on it,
Yan.
the better.
Yung tipo kasing dapat noong linabas yung si Madriaga, nagbotohan na sila baka mas marami pa silang nakuhang boto ng mga panahon na yun kaysa ngayong mga panahon na to, di ba? Mahina rin itong si Bacolao. Kung ako siya na, pagkatapos ni Madriaga, nagbotohan na sila dyan sa Injustice Committee. Tapos diretsong plenaryo na. Dami pa nilang cheche-bureche.
Now, ang tanong ko, ma'am, does it mean that you've nakopya na to? Because ilan po kayo? 300? How many are all of you?
For 318.
318? Does it mean that at least 200 plus copies have now been printed? That's a lot.
Well, it should be the plenary, no? After pang ma-refer ng rules back to the plenary should direct the Secretary General to provide copies to all the House members. I know it's a lot. It's 318.
Yeah.
I understand na in-adapt namin yung electronic rule, di ba?
Yeah.
Where the institution is allowed to provide copies via email, via online, no?
I was gonna say, I mean, it makes more sense. I understand na noong unang panahon, right, even if it was a different mode, nung panahon kay Renato Corona, kay ERAP, if they had to distribute, that would be nakapapel. Pero today, the House Justice Committee report that was voted on can just be sent to everybody's email. That would just take a few hours.
Yeah, you're correct about that, Karen. As a matter of fact, we adopted that in the Justice Committee. That was our practice. Kaya even to the parties in the impeachment complaint, kaya ang bilis namin mag-transmit at magpadala ng mga documents. But I don't know really with the plenary if apart from the electronic copy, they will be providing hard copy. It will depend on the judgment of the plenary.
But you believe by May 11, the plenary will be able to vote?
They should be ready to vote. They should be ready to vote. But it depends, again, on the plenary, whether or not they will proceed to vote by May 11.
Can the House Speaker change the date on May 11? What can the House Speaker choose to do?
You know, the plenary is led by a lot of House leaders.
Okay.
We have the deputy speakers, we have the majority leaders, we have the senior deputy speaker, we have the speaker, no? They are part of the decision making in the plenary. No? So as to when really the plenary vote will happen, of course the House leaders will have a say also on this.
All right. Now let's go back a bit. I mean, 55, this was unanimous with no abstentions. What do you think did it? I mean, clearly there were strong parts of the hearing because I watched it all, of the discussions. What do you think convinced most of the Justice Panel members?
I think it's the unexplained wealth. It's the
Okay.
report of AMLA vis-a-vis the SALN of the Vice President, no? Kasi even I was able to observe that prior to the April 22 hearing, talagang you cannot tell whether or not the justice members will be supporting the impeachment process, no? But after the April 22 hearing, I'm beginning to receive texts, Marcos making further inquiries about the AMLAC report, no? They would even ask totoo ba yung AMLAC report? I would say, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, it's true. Dahil yung executive director naman yung nag-testify, di ba? And I've been mentioning about the presumption of regularity of performance that this AMLAC report and AMLAC official deserve under the law. No? So, you're correct, Karen. It's the April 22 hearing, to be specific, the AMLAC report together with the SALN that made a lot of difference on how, in fact, hindi lang itong House members, even the viewing public, how the people in general change their position in as far as this impeachment process is concerned.
Okay. I interviewed Attorney Michael Poa yesterday on Head Start, and I want to ask you 2 points. Number one, when I asked him about the bank account that Senator Antonio Trillanes exposed, he's been doing this for the last 10 years. Ang tanong ni Attorney Michael Poa, of course, he didn't reveal the whole strategy, but he said, there are questions on, una, he's not even saying totoo yung account, pero sabi niya, nakuha ba ni Vice President Sara Duterte ang perang yon? Alam ba niya ang account na yon? Alam ba niya ang dinideposit doon? What do you make of that? Because they did not attend the hearings eh.
But the name is with the Vice President Sara. The account is under the name of Vice President Sara Duterte. Di ba? As a matter of fact, when we subpoenaed the AMLAC report, what we ask is covered and suspicious transactions under the name of Sara Duterte, husband, and anyone they are having joint account with. Something like that, no? I don't know how else you will interpret or appreciate documents.
Pagka one-sided lang ang utak mo at gusto mong ma-impeach si VP Sara, talagang I don't know sagot mo dyan. Pero kung gagamitin mo sentido ko mo, nanak ng Petrang Garapata, antindi ng mga gagawin ng depensa dyan. Tayo'y naniniwala na makiklear ang pangalan ni VP Sara. Ano yan eh? Sa tingin natin, kung magtutuloy yan sa Senado, alam natin, gusto natin matapos na yan ngayon pa lang. Kung tayo tatanungin, gusto natin huwag nang umabot sa Senado. Pero kung sakaling umabot sa Senado, dahil naniniwala tayo matuwid si VP Sara, walang ginawang mali yan. Diyan sa lugar na yan, maa-absuelto ho siya. Baka ika nga hindi pa nag-uumpisa eleksyon. Pagka itong si VP Sara nalusutan niya ito ng talagang lahat ng katanungan ay nasagot niya, presidente na ho siya. Wala nang eleksyon na mangyayari. Presidente na ho siya sa 2020. Yan ho ang ating sigurado dyan.
Documents of AMLAC or even other financial documents which actually disclose the name of the Vice President as the account holder. How would you appreciate that? Except by appreciating that he is the owner of the account. Why would they place that account under the name?
Yan o mga statement na yan, clearly propaganda ho yan. Ika nga pagka sumagot na ho ang depensa at ika nga hindi ho nila nadepensa na maayos yung mga argumento nitong si Baculaw pagdating sa Senado, doon pa lang ho tayo naniniwala na talagang yung sinasabi na yan itong si Baculaw talagang yan talagang tama. Pero habang di tayo umaabot sa Senado at bulahan lang dalawa nitong si Karen Davila itong mga pinag-uusapan nila dito sa video na to, tatapusin na ho natin to. So Luis, maraming salamat po sa pag-support sa page update. Mag-ingat ho kayo lahat. Wala natin Pilipinas.